possible. I was on the board of my kid's school during COVID. I wanted a harsher lockdown policy, and in retrospect, I was wrong. The damage to kids of keeping them out of school longer was greater than the risks. But here's the bottom line. Myself, our great people, the CDC, I'd like to thank the governor, we were all operating with imperfect information, and we were doing our best. So
yeah,
So let's learn from it. Let's learn from it. Let's learn from it. Let's hold each other accountable. But let's bring a little bit of grace and forgiveness in the shit show that was COVID.
Yeah. Hard pass.
The idea of shelter in place has to be considered now.
Details of what that could mean for the city's nearly 9 million residents still unclear. The San Francisco Bay Area already taking similar drastic steps to slow the pandemic, completing another night under its shelter-in-place order. Shops locked up, normally bustling streets now oddly quiet. Nearly 7 million people told to stay home for at least 3 weeks.
You're sure of it because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down.
We're asking that same sense of community to come together and stand up against this virus. And if everybody in America does what we ask for over the next 15 days, we will see a dramatic difference, and we won't have to worry about the ventilators, and we won't have to worry about the ICU beds, because we won't have our elderly and our people at the greatest risk having to be hospitalized.
So again, minimal, at least one mask, likely a double ply type of mask would be good. So one of the ways you could do it, if you would like to, is put a cloth mask over.
Well, let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Masks are protective.
Across the country, at least 21 million kids now home from school.
Venice Beach Skate Park is closed and now covered in sand after complaints from residents. People living nearby say groups have been gathering at the park without practicing proper social distancing.
The city of Miami Beach is currently under a state of emergency. There's a curfew in effect.
These extraordinary scenes have shocked local officials who say they've been overwhelmed by the number of revelers. There's little sign of social distancing and few people wearing masks. Fights have broken out and businesses have been forced to close down. At one point, the police shot pepper balls into the crowd, urging people to leave after an 8 p.m. curfew came into effect.
A Lodi church now hit with another order to stop their Sunday gatherings. The San Joaquin County Public Health Officer ordering the facility to close.
Also breaking tonight, though, the NBA has suspended its basketball season until further notice after a member of the Utah Jazz tested positive for the coronavirus.
Heightened states of emergency across the nation as a number of coronavirus cases soars above 3,000. Tonight, elected officials taking unprecedented measures to keep people safe. Illinois and Ohio closing all bars and restaurants beginning tonight. California shutting down bars and wineries and asking those 65 and older to self-isolate.
CDC taking additional measures to protect travelers in the U.S. Starting tonight, anyone using public transit will be required to wear a mask. News4JAX reporter Jennifer Reddy joins us live. She's at the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center. And Jen, this is already a requirement at many local transportation hubs.
Yeah, this would be where we would have all of our paper products, paper towels, and toilet tissue. But as you can see, we've been cleared out.
The general manager of Carnival Grocery shows a long line of shelving stripped bare in his Oak Park store. And in the time of COVID-19, it seems like the new normal.
Italy in lockdown. We've seen closures of schools, churches here in the United States. Why is the CDC using that phrase, social distancing, and does it work?
Well, it's basically figuring out ways to keep us away from each other.
Governor Whitmer is standing by her initial decision not to include landscaping on the list of essential services. But now some local leaders are coming out and saying they won't try to stop businesses that are out mowing lawns. First, could this be the first arrest made for surfing documented in history? Look at, now he's trying to mow him, dude. High-speed pursuit. Uh-oh, he's screwed. Now he's got this guy. This guy's coming in. Let's see the highway pursuit. Oh my God, look at this. He cut him off. Throw the tacks down. Pop the tires. Oh my God. Spray him with a hose. Uh-oh. Sheriff boat.
When everybody goes to a Lowe's or a Menards or a Home Depot, here's what they're going to see. Whole categories of merchandise that are going to be cordoned off and that you will be unable to buy. Things like gardening supplies, paint, carpeting, flooring, and furniture. Other new restrictions: no going back and forth between property you own in the state or vacation rentals.
Friday afternoon, Governor Charlie Baker ordered all Bay Staters to wear face masks in public when social distancing is not possible. But as it finally feels like spring in Boston, large numbers of people are still heading out without any facial coverings.
So what is non-essential travel? According to the California Department of Public Health, it's travel that is considered tourism or recreational in nature.
And today, Governor Ralph Northam announced that there will be a curfew from midnight to 5 a.m. for most Virginians.
Masks must now be worn outdoors if you can't stay 6 feet apart from others, and public gatherings are reduced from 25 people to 10.
Some churches in Kentucky have adopted for drive-through services, but the mayor says even that isn't considered safe social distancing.
In addition to shutting down beaches and adjacent parking areas, officials have now closed all main access points for pedestrians, including a portion of Highway 101.
This caught on tape shows a dad being taken into custody in front of his wife and 6-year-old daughter. His crime? They were taking a break from quarantine and were tossing a ball around in a park in Brighton, Colorado.
As people return to the boardwalk, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signs an executive order to require masks outside where social distancing is impossible.
Everett is shutting down basketball courts and playgrounds to try to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Adding Trump-style branding, the administration launched Operation Warp Speed, a multi-billion-dollar research and manufacturing effort to shorten the typical year-plus vaccine development timeline.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free.
And so today, the president announced the most sweeping rules to date. All 9 million federal and contract workers must be vaccinated or face losing their jobs. Private sector companies with over 100 employees must require vaccinations or weekly testing. That accounts for 80 million workers.
The only way we prevent it is to get vaccinated, to wear masks, to do social distancing, washing your hands all the time, and not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.
The goal, really, and I wish President Biden had done more of this during his speech, I wish that he had gone into all the things that should be done to restrict the activities of the unvaccinated. And what we really need to do at this point is to make vaccination the easy choice. It needs to be hard for people to remain unvaccinated.
I'll condemn them, I'll shame them, I'll blame them. We can penalize them more. We can say, you're going to pay more on your hospital bill if you weren't vaccinated. You can't get life insurance or disability insurance at affordable rates if you aren't vaccinated. Those companies should not treat us as equals in terms of what the financial burdens are that disease imposes. So I can think of a number of ways in which we should say, here's the stick, get on board.
Don't want to get vaccinated. That's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
There's no excuse. No excuse for anyone being unvaccinated.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I want you to look at this and think about, again, some people love hamburgers, some don't. Really want to respect all ways of life. But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
Philadelphia is getting ready to enact a new vaccine requirement for eating inside. The new rule starts in 3 weeks, and it applies to more than just restaurants. Sports fans planning to head to the Wells Fargo Center will need to show proof as well. Joints for Jabs, that's what they're calling it. It's an event in Long Beach where organizers are going to give you a free marijuana joint if you're eligible and get a COVID vaccine.
Also today, the governor says all West Virginians ages 16 to 35 who've already gotten the shots or will get them will also get a $100 savings bond as an incentive. That could cost the state $27 million.
Of course, hunting and fishing is big business. It's a big hobby here in the state, and so officials are taking advantage of that. They're giving away lifetime memberships, lifetime licenses to the fishing and hunting clubs. They're also doing things like giving away a Ford F-150 trucks, as you mentioned, every week for 5 weeks starting at the end of June. And they're also doing something that's a little more controversial. They're giving away 5 shotguns and 5 hunting rifles as well, just for the fully vaccinated or even partially vaccinated.
Today could be your lucky day if you've gotten at least one COVID vaccination shot. California's first vaccine lottery drawing takes place tonight.
Krispy Kreme is offering a free glazed donut if you show them your COVID vaccination card.
Shout out to our favorite MD, Anthony Fauci.
Walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic. So it's time to admit that we have to go to war against COVID. Require vaccination universally. Have the military run it. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you better be ready to prove your conscientious objector status in court.
Think about this. In a world of threats and tyrants and terror, you know what our biggest enemy is in America? Our fellow Americans.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy.
The people who are not getting vaccines, who are believing the lies on the internet instead of science, it's time to start shaming them. What else? Or leave them behind.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
The Event 201 scenario is fictional. Today's scenario is going to simulate meetings of a multi-stakeholder group called the Pandemic Emergency Board.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
There's been some conspiracy theories that are around about the potential that pharmaceutical companies or the UN have released this for their own benefit.
And maybe this is a time for us to showcase some cases where we are able to bring forward some bad actors and leave it before the courts to decide whether they have actually spread some fake news.
A new coronavirus. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia.
In related news, a significant demand for personal protective equipment like N95 masks and gloves are on the rise. Patients are overwhelming healthcare facilities. People are avoiding public spaces out of fear of infection and in compliance with public health recommendations. Our U.S. affiliate has just released polling results on public expectations for a vaccine, and 65% of those polled are eager to take the vaccine, even if it's experimental.
I'm not optimistic about having a vaccine in time to be relevant during this pandemic.
With enough money and political will, anything is possible.
Penalties have been put in place for spreading harmful falsehoods, including arrests.
If the solution means controlling and reducing access to information, I think it's the right choice.
What exactly are the risks and benefits of staying home from work? Absolutely, we need to save lives, but we literally cannot afford a heavy-handed response that suffocates our economy.
The world saw large-scale protests and in some places riots. This led to violent crackdowns in some countries and even martial law. The public lost trust in their respective administration. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad?